He had over $60,000 worth of debt, and now he's a millionaire. This young man has become one of the most successful realtors with eXp. In 4 short years, he is one of the top 40 agents out of over 82,000 agents. Hear his incredible story and our connection before his success. And I think right now you have over 2,200 agents that's a part of your organization?
We're getting right there. We'll be at 2,200 here pretty quickly. So yeah, we're getting there.
That's amazing. So I'm so excited to talk to you. Mr. Connor Steinbrook, welcome. I appreciate your time.
What's up, Lo? How you doing? It's been a while since we've done podcasts, but yeah, let's get into it.
It's been a while. You know what? And I've said this publicly, and I'm going to say it again. I appreciate you on your follow-up skills and reaching back out to me back in December of 2018. We can talk a little bit more about that, but that was the early days of when you got your license, and we'll talk about that. And partnered with the eXp, and you were so excited. And that first call, I wasn't ready. Life was happening, a lot of things, but you called me back. And when you called me back, I paid attention, but we'll come back to that. So let's talk about YouTube. You've been doing some tremendous things with YouTube. Your channel has blown up. Can you talk a little bit about YouTube and what you've been doing?
So I have a kind of an interesting journey into YouTube, but it did change my life, and it's changed a lot of others' lives as well. So what happened for me, if you guys look into my stories, you know me, and I've done podcasts for years. You guys know that when I got into real estate, just want you to know, I was going to Lo events, watching Lo speak on stage literally like a decade ago. So she's been doing this for a long time, guys. You got a great leader here on this channel. But so when I got into real estate, if you guys look into my story, it didn't go very well, right? I was a high stakes poker player for about 8 years. Top of the online poker world, government regulation changed that, and it led me to a very bad, tough spot in life where I got close to 100 grand debt, living at home with my parents, trying to build a real estate investment business, and it wasn't going well, and I ran out of money. And what I want you guys to understand is business is based off of resourcefulness, not resources. So even if you don't have money, even if you're in debt, because of technology and social media, there's so much out here as far as tools and resources that we can use that we can trade our time to build a business with. We don't need money. And when I stumbled across YouTube, the reason why I was watching YouTube was I spent all my money on high-paid education, home study courses, high-ticket price point consulting type of stuff. I ran out of money, so I was trying to educate myself. I needed more information because I was making mistakes. And when I was realizing YouTube is that powerful, that I was learning more than from people that I paid from for free, I said, wow, this is a great resource. So I was educating myself, and I was teaching myself how to build websites at the time, because what was going on was Google had just acquired YouTube, and people were learning how to do WordPress websites. I was one of the first investors on Investor Carrot. Some of you guys know Trevor Mock and Adrian Nez over there. And I was watching their little mastermind calls throughout the week, their training calls on how to make your websites rank higher through optimization by building private YouTube channels and linking those YouTube channels to the websites. And so I was like, well, I'm watching YouTube. It's helping me. Well, let me see if I can use this to kind of help me in a different way. So I started building private YouTube channels and linking them to my websites. And accidentally, I built the #1 house buying websites for some of the biggest keywords in North Texas. Like we buy houses for certain cities, sell my house fast. And overnight, I went from working for minimum wage, stuck at home living with my parents, hating my life, to doing almost 40 deals my first year through wholesaling transactions, including like $100,000 in 1 week. And it completely changed my life. And so I started using YouTube to generate leads in multiple ways. I built other YouTube channels privately behind the scenes that are for lead generation that you guys probably won't see publicly. And it kind of took off, and I started cracking the code to YouTube. So I created a channel called Investor Army as I started to become successful in the investment space, flipping houses, wholesaling rentals, and owner financing, things like that. And started to teach people how I was doing what I was doing. And I really kind of went into that channel with an experimental mindset. I didn't really have a filming background, an audio background, really any background of any type for a camera type of content. And I just kind of plugged away. And that's why you just have to get going, because my first videos, the audio wasn't great, the lighting wasn't great, clearly, but some of them took off, right? Because the message was resonating with people. And that channel, Investor Army, took off to become one of the biggest channels in North America as far as real estate investing goes. And what that led me to was eXp Realty, which is what we may talk about here in a little bit. And that's when I had built that following of just trying to help people for years. And then when I went into an international business model that allowed me to build an organization across North America, well, essentially what happened was the following that I had, many of them decided to come over and work with me. So because I built that following for years, without asking anything from them. When an opportunity came up, people followed me into it. And that was the catalyst and the starting point of the momentum to build our Wolkpack organization that we started back in 2018. That's now recognized all over the world as one of the fastest growing, most successful organizations in the world. You know, we're selling give or take $1,000 a month right now.
Yeah.
And it's all from YouTube.
Yeah.
And then just recently, I launched that new YouTube channel on entrepreneurship, which we talked a little about. And
yeah, it's great. I love your videos. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, thank you. And this is a little bit different one. So the reason why I'm starting this channel is a lot of different reasons. But primarily, I think entrepreneurship is the key to get out of this problem that the world's facing right now. We need more.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we need more jobs, better jobs, longer term jobs that people want to do. And, you know, right now, entrepreneurship is the key to fixing all this, in my opinion. And on that other channel, my identity was tied to the investment space. And people from insurance, small business owners, and other, you know, entrepreneurs, they come over there. And they say, this is just real estate investing. So that was one reason I started a new channel. The other reason is, you know, it gets me into a new space, which long term I'm looking to do other things like, you know, not the little Shark Tank is, but I do want to invest in small businesses and startups and things like that. So I'm looking for young entrepreneurs. The other thing is, I believe our college system is messing up kids all across North America. And if I can help young kids like I have that have come to work with us in our team, you know, we have 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids working with us that are already financially free or, you know, doing millions of dollars in sales a year. I want to get to these individuals here and help them move into entrepreneurship before they get stuck into the 9-to-5 job world and move that direction. So I'm looking to kind of help educate a lot of kids coming up that maybe didn't have the best parents, maybe no parents, maybe a single parent, that they never came from like a high performance background. They never had a high level education. And some of these kids never really had an opportunity, you know, like some of us did. Right. So like my goal is to kind of be a parental figure for a lot of them and kind of help them get that mentorship that I never had, that I also found on the internet. So also that's one thing I did point out is that most of my mentors I followed that made me successful were internet mentors, many of them that weren't even living today. So that's a lot of what I'm doing here. And then also to expand our brand and a lot of that. But this channel I'm building in a sequential order way. So if you're struggling right now, where you're not doing well, life's upside down, you may be in debt, problems in family, that channel is to go from rock bottom where you're lost in life, nothing's going right. And what I did step by step sequentially to take me from 100 grand debt, living at home with parents, to building $1 million income in a very short time period. So I'm showing you the recipe, meaning if you were to cook a cake, what steps in the right order to do. And it's going to go in a series. So if you're getting into entrepreneurship or you're struggling with entrepreneurship right now, that channel is probably going to help you.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure and have all of your information in your channels available, guys, so that you can go and check it out and subscribe. Now, you said a lot of things. And one of the things that that I want to point out before we go to the next question here is, even with YouTube, I've had my YouTube channel for a while, and it's been heavy with real estate investing, wholesaling. And over the past year and a half, when I reached back out to you, and I'll come back to that story, because I had been watching you for about 2.5 years. I was dealing with life and just a lot of things that were going on, but I was watching you. And when I got ready, I linked back up with you. And one of the things that I learned, even from my YouTube channel, I've taken about 7 or 8 months now, you know, at the time of this recording, to rebrand myself because I got my license. And I was motivated to get it because of you. Now, I do want you to talk about why you got your license and the importance of any real estate agent that's listening to that's been thinking about or haven't even thought about getting their license, why they should.
Yeah, that's a good question. So first thing is multiple streams of income. So I'm going to talk a lot about on my channels going forward. I created back in 2015 a visual representation kind of modeled off the the cash flow quadrant. I created what's called the wealth quadrant. So at one point on my entrepreneurship journey, I was trying to figure out what I need to do, which path I need to go into, where I need to spend my time, where I need to spend my money. And I came up with 4 components that I met every single wealthy person every single person that I met that was wealthy, meaning probably $10 million net worth and up. They had all these components to their life. And these components were: number 1, multiple streams of income; number 2, duplication or leverage to someone else's time, systems, or technology, meaning multiple rentals, multiple YouTube videos, multiple agents, multiple people as far as employees, contractor teams, something outside themselves. They're not a solopreneur, they're an entrepreneur, right? The other 2 things they had were equity models, meaning they had ownership in something, and then residual income opportunities through passive income. So I said, okay, I need to have all four of these components to have the successful life I want and to be able to create wealth. So when I saw a license in the beginning, I saw it as a liability. Now I came up in the investment world. This may be the same situation for you guys right now. Depending on which kind of channel you came up through or the path you walked into the real estate business on, whether it was traditional through real estate sales as an agent, coming up through a brokerage space, or you came up through the networking circles, through the local REI clubs, or you came up through YouTube as a real estate investor. Think about the different psychological kind of path that you went down. Agents and investors are like cats and dogs, I say. Some are cat dogs, like that whole cartoon we used to watch when we were little, stupid joke, but it kind of resonates with people. Most people either do one or the other. They're either just sales, just an investor, some do both. Now, if they're just one or the other and they're not doing both, what are they doing? They're competing against each other in the marketplace for the same inventory. And agents are trying to get the highest price for the property. Investors are trying to get the lowest price for the property. So they're kind of opposite of each other. And if you come up in the investment space, the REI circle, you're going to hear things like, oh, you don't need a real estate license. Actually, it's going to make your job harder and life more difficult. You're going to have more liability. It's going to make it harder to get contracts and all this type of stuff. What I didn't realize was, I don't know where all this information came from because it's actually all inaccurate. It's actually the opposite, right? So you actually have less liability as an agent because you're insured through E&O insurance and the brokerage protects you.
Right.
As an investor, if you mess up, you're getting sued directly. So it's an illusion. It's not true. The second thing is you actually get more contracts in my experience and you get more opportunities to have a good conversation with the seller because you're not giving them one option. Hey, take my lowball offer or not. Hey, look, I'm a full one-stop shop. I'm a solution for you in any problem that you have. I can help you in multiple ways. I can help you if the best option for you is to put the house in the market, get the highest price, or if you want to just eliminate all your headaches and problems and want to move forward right now and give up part of your equity for the solution here to move away from it quickly, I can buy your property cash. Instead of pushing a homeowner to what we want them to do, we let them tell us what they want to do once they know all the options and they see the best outcome for themselves. Right. So also when you have a license, that homeowner, let's say Lo and I were twins, we walk in and offers the same, everything's the same, the value's the same, but Lo's a licensed real estate agent and Connor's just a real estate investor. That credibility of being licensed and regulated by the state makes a lot of homeowners feel comfortable that they're working with someone that they're protected to work with, that they have some type of recourse or that they feel is being regulated because they are, right? So it creates that extra level there. So I never had a reason to get my license. Now, along the way, what happened was a lot of times was because of those reasons. A lot of times I get leads in the office, they want like $500,000 for a $500,000 house. Well, that's a $15K commission. Right. And I know right now, some of you guys are not getting your license because the time demand, it's just a burden, right? It's not very expensive. It's a time demand. Well, you're also stuck on the slots that you don't need it. Well, let me give you some reasons why you need it, how much money you're losing. I lost millions of dollars by not having my license earlier on, because those leads that come into office that want full retail, can't close on them. Right. Let's say, for example, I go buy a rental property or house flip in my local market. I go buy Lowe's house. I buy a house for $250,000. And guess what? She's upgrading. She's moving up in life. She's taking her family to the next level. They're buying a $500,000-$600,000 house in the same market. I buy that house for an investment property. Without a license, how do I represent Lo and help her find her next house? That's a big check that I'm leaving on the table, right? Easy access to the MLS. So you have access to the MLS. Yep. You're going to have, the ability to now do referral deals. Say you're building a social media following like I did. What was happening was I was an investor locally. I had no ability to do all the leads and transactions that were coming globally or across North America. But as a real estate agent, now at eXp Realty, because we have agents in almost every single state, just in our organization and across the company, we're wide in over 20 nations now. Let's say I have, because I put a video out about real estate investing or real estate agent topic here in Texas, and it goes all around the country. And guess what? A homeowner in Florida reaches out to me randomly and they want me to list their house. Well, I can't do that. I'm not a licensed agent in Florida, but I have agents in our organization in Florida that can, and then they can do it. And because I'm licensed in Texas, I can accept a referral. So now I've opened up another opportunity for another income stream nationally on other deals. So there's a lot of reasons that you can use your license to, pick up extra income streams just with your investment side. Now, what really caused me to get my license was eXp Realty. So I'm a big believer in residual income. Without residual income, you're at risk, because if you have one income stream or two income streams tied to your time, which is what active income is, flipping houses, sales of real estate, jobs, anything of high income through active income can go away because of a life liability. Children, grandchildren, health issue, something like that, right?
Can we talk about that? I would, on a personal note, and I think it's really, really important, for those of you that's listening. What you are saying is so right. And when you called me back that second time and said, Lo, I just need for you to take a look at this presentation, take a look at the business model.
Mhm.
And when I saw it, I got it. So it wasn't that I didn't get it, I got it. So for me, I wasn't in the position and I didn't have my license. Carla, who's my business partner, she had hers, but it was a terrible time. In her dad, cancer came back, he had passed away. It was just bad.
Yeah.
But I persuaded her to switch. And I'm so glad that she did, because during that time, when her dad cancer came back, she left. She left our house. She left the business. She was focused on her dad.
Right.
We were doing pretty good. But during that same year, we had like 7 deals that fell out of escrow for different reasons. And actually one deal fell out because the seller decided not to sell, even though we had a buyer. So we went back and sued him. And after a year, we finally got our commission. It was a hard year. And we really didn't have enough other passive income to sustain us during this time. So it was really hard. So I understood, okay, number one, I need to get my license, because things were changing, even the investing world. So there's a couple of states that require you to have a license if you're going to wholesale. And I knew, I said, yep, I need to do this. And also from what I saw in the presentation with EXP, it just made sense to me. And it's been probably the best move, this second chapter of our entrepreneurial journey, where we have more additional streams of income that come into our home now, and we're better off. So I just wanted to really, share that.
Yeah, I mean, that's very common. So let's talk on that real quick before we go back into what I was finishing out with multiple streams of income. This is the big confusing part for a lot of people, though, that they think multiple streams of income is to increase their income. And obviously it can if you have multiple good income streams, right?
Right.
I want to challenge you here a little bit, because I rarely hear entrepreneurs explain this. And since I learned this the hard way, I had one great income stream. I was top of the world on poker, disappeared, and I had no income stream after that. So what that means is multiple streams of income is an insurance policy that if you have one, or you have a good one that's bringing the most of the income to the family, that if it goes away, you can lean back on something else that gives you time to recover. Because the reason why people struggle for so long to bounce back, if they had a job that they lost, or a business that folded, or a model change, or something, a product model change, and you were in a network marketing, or something happened with inflation, now you're, some product for your restaurant changed the prices, that it can't work. You need to have something to fall back on. So most people believe MSI, multiple streams of income, is if you have 10 income streams, you make more money. But what if you have 10 income streams that lose $100K a year? You're not making more money. So you need to have good income streams. And if you have multiple streams of income that are quality income streams, yes, it increases your income. But I want you to understand that multiple streams of income is an insurance policy. You need at least 3, because if you have 2 and you lose one, you're right back to 1, and you're in that risky position. And then also, when you have one and also looks like it may not be performing well, or you're having life liabilities like taking care of your parents and your family, which is very common, where people learn this, have these hard lessons, you're trying to figure out, what to do and keeping it going. It's very stressful if you don't have confidence in that income stream to pay the bills, right? So it occupies a lot of your mind. Whereas if you had another one, it takes that pressure off. But that's why I saw EXP is a great way to build the residual income stream with the revenue share model. And if you guys are on social media, which everybody is now, I saw it as the ability to leverage myself with the time, dollars, and money I'd invested into building my following outside of my market. Because as an investor, I was mostly local. But with the license, I can now be on a global footprint and work with partners all across the country and all across the world through social media and connecting through EXP. Now, the revenue share model is why I saw the value at EXP. And just to give you guys full transparency, I was kind of one of the ones that blew EXP off for 2.5 years. I was one of the ones that was like, no, EXP, that's not for me. And the reason why is I didn't take a deep look and have a good understanding. I was letting people kind of give me fragmented information, 5 minutes here, a couple text messages. Yeah, tell me about it. I'd hop on a call for like 15 minutes. But when I did, I never did it in a way where I was really respecting the person that was talking to me, just to be honest. I did it in a way to appease them. And that's one of the dangerous things in business is opportunities come all the time, but we're too busy to take a deep look at them. And also, I think a lot of times we're too busy to look at good opportunities because we are so busy and we're focused on so much that we're doing. We have so many problems. We're scared that if the opportunity that we look at is good, we're going to want to do it, right? And so we consciously move away from opportunities that could change our life because what if we want to do it? Now we have to do it, right? And so for 2.5 years, I blew EXP off, and a big break happened for me. I was at an investment conference and I was speaking in Mississippi at an owner financing event. the number one guy from our company was speaking at the same event. And I was stuck into a speaker's house with him for 3 days. And he showed me he was making 6 figures a month, over $100,000 a month with a residual income, with his license, with no debt, no tenants, no toilets, no termites, no package management systems.
Hold on. I want you to repeat what you just said. How much was he making a month? 6 figures residual?
Yeah, so this is a true story. It's kind of like one of those, it's like just like Wolf of Wall Street, actually. So that scene where he's like in the restaurant, he's like, you proved to me you make $72,000 a month. I call my boss, I quit my job right now. You guys know what I'm talking about? That's basically what happened to me. And I was doing well at this time, investing businesses and other businesses. And
yeah, I know.
So Rob showed me the revenue share model. Nobody had explained that I could build a big residual income with no debt and no back-end management system. So basically, Rob had been in the company for a little over 2 years. He was already making over $100,000 a month. And he did this through the EXP revenue share model. And what he was explaining to me was how it kind of worked. Right. And this was in like September or so, I can't remember, late 2017. Mm-hmm. And I just remember thinking, he's got $100,000 a month in his back office. I thought that was an annual amount, thinking we're almost 10 months into the year. He's making almost $10,000 a month. Yeah, that's pretty good. Making $10K a month residual income. Right. And I was like, that's your month, or that's your annual income, right? Mm-hmm. And he basically rolled his eyes like I'm the biggest idiot. He's like, that's my monthly income. And I was like, you proved to me you're making $100,000 a month residual income with no debt. You didn't raise money. You have no tenants, toilets, termites, none of the back-end management. Tenants destroying your property on the way they're moving out. If they move out, you don't have to fight them to throw them out, which I'm fighting right now to get someone out of the property. And I was like,
a switch went off, didn't it? A switch at that moment went off for you, didn't it?
Right.
That's awesome.
I remember I was like, I got to do this, right? It wasn't even an option at that moment. And when you find an opportunity that's a vehicle to get to a high level,
yes,
all you're looking to find is something that can get you to your goals. So sometimes in life, going through one door opens up doors in a different direction that are the door that gets you to the final end game. And so all you need to know is what you want in life, the biggest goal, meaning, do you want to be a champion in some industry, or do you want to make X amount of money? And you start moving towards that want and doing the right things on a daily basis. But sometimes the road changes along the way. And that's what happened here, which was I was going this direction with Investor Army and investing side of things. And all of a sudden I got my license, and overnight things changed rapidly. So our first year we grew to 150 plus agents, second year over 300, third year over 600, fourth year we grew by over 1,000 agents. Yeah. And now we're closing in on 2,200 agents. And investors all across the country are getting licensed to come work with us because they're now seeing that they can build a residual income on the side of their investment business that's actually larger than their rental portfolio and their owner finance note portfolio without needing to raise capital and without taking the risk and without having the time and stress management on the back end. And so EXP, really, if you're an investor, guys, I'm sure you're hearing a lot about it and you're blowing it off, or you're looking at it from the side thinking, I'm an investor, I don't need something like that. Now, some of these reasons we talked about before, I want you to keep in mind. But as an investor, what I saw with the EXP model is there's 3 ways of creating income. We have active income, residual income, and equity models. Mm-hmm. Active income is where most people stay. That's time traded to create income. If time stops, income stops. When Carla had to go take care of her dad, think about what happened to the business. This is why active income is great. You can make a lot of sales, but it can go away because your time cannot always be traded at the same rate that you traded it when you're grinding those hard years, right?
Right.
Now, equity models create wealth, ownership of stock, ownership of real estate. Why does this create wealth in a different way than active income? Because it plays with time differently. Time expands behind this, or net worths can expand behind the scenes without time being allocated to make it grow. So if I was hitting a car wreck and went into a coma for a year, but I bought a stock at $1 and it went up to $10, when I wake up, my net worth is larger. Yeah. If a rental portfolio I built before I went to sleep and woke up a year later and the market appreciated, I expanded my net worth, but my time wasn't tied to it. This is why you need to put yourself into equity positions. Right. This is how you play with time and increase time. That's why billionaires have more time than us, because they have more equity positions. And then the last one is residual income, recurring income, because if something happens, if you build an income stream through a rental portfolio, you go into a coma for a year, guess what happens? Your bank account's still filling up because the cash flow is coming in. Absolutely. So I realized I have to work on residual income and equity to be wealthy. And that's what I started doing years ago. When I looked at the EXP Realty model, they have 3 income streams. Mm-hmm. Unlike other brokerages, they're usually 1, if at best 2. So they have a great production model, and they have the stock award system. So there's 5 different ways to acquire equity in the company. And then they have the residual income model. And so I looked at my business on a T-chart with sales side over here and investment on side over here. And I looked at all 3 income streams. And I said, if I move to EXP and I get a license on my investment side, you got transactional income through like flipping houses, wholesaling, those type of strategies, residual income through rentals, owner financing, passive money lending, And then the ownership of the properties is the equity position. And then if I get a license at EXP, I have the sales model. I can capitalize on no equity leads that come in, referral deals across North America. I'll acquire stock ownership in the company for doing the things I'm already doing, selling houses or building a team that sells houses. And then I can build a revenue share model. And what that meant was it was the first time that a real estate brokerage came out that allowed for someone to be a real entrepreneur in real estate, meaning doing both sides of business, having all three ways of creating income. So no matter what lead came into the office, regardless of price point or equity position, they had the best and optimal, most efficient exit strategy to have the highest return on their time and money spent. And I said, this is going to revolutionize the world for everybody. And this was back in 2018 when the company wasn't even or like when I joined, we we're at 6,000 agents.
And now it's at what, 84?
Yeah, now fastest growing company in the world. I try to tell everybody, and we're still going. So like, is the opportunity gone? I'm like, guys, Keller Williams is, almost 200,000. We are just getting going. The biggest opportunity of your career is still right here today. But if you let people tell you that, you're missing it, right? So people are coming over here today and still building multiple six-figure residual incomes very, very quickly, even in a year or less. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's go back a little bit. Once you left Mississippi, how long did it take you to get your license?
Well, truth is, so like I tell the story a lot where like, I just get to the point with Rob where I'm like, I'm going to go get licensed. And that was my intent when I went back. And what happened was, and this is what's happened to a lot of investors I've talked to and other people in any opportunity. So I was committed in my mind to do this. And when I got back, I had just like a big bottleneck of things I had to take care of because I'm running a lot of businesses. And when I go on the road for 3 to 4 or 5 days at a time, I have a compression of all these problems I have to usually fix when I get back. That's why it's hard to travel. And I got back and I fully intended to get my license. Like I believed it in my mind. It was on my to-do list. I actually was like calling the real estate school, figuring out when the classes were, like it was going to happen. And then life happened and a week of busy work went by. And I'm like, I'm still doing it. Right. And then another week went by and I'm like, I meant to do it. And then 3 weeks went by. And what happened was now I had another event to go to. And I'm like, I'm going to do this when I get back from this event. And so, not to go off on like, I'm not trying to tell you what to believe, but I believe things happen for a certain reason. I'm a Christian, and I believe opportunities that are put in front of my face that are that blatant. I mean, to show up in a speaker's house, number guy in the world. Well, here's what actually happened. I kind of got to where it was kind of the temperature level on my excitement about it was dropping a little bit because I was dealing with so many problems, so much stress in my own business. And I had to speak at another event. And this time, this event was in Arizona. And I flew out to this event to speak at, and there's only like 5 or 6 speakers at this event. And guess who was speaking at the same event out of nowhere? Same Rob Flick. So Rob was at the last event I was at, and the next event at. Take in mind, I've been speaking at events for 5, 6 years at this moment.
Wait a minute, talk about a sign, right?
Right. That's when it gives me chills. I just got goosebumps. You probably can see because I just remember being like, okay, I hear you. I have to. And so when Rob was giving that speech in that room, I booked my classes that while I was in that seminar online, I booked them and my flight got back and I was in school the day I landed back from that event. And I got my real estate license as fast as the state of Texas would allow me to do it with the classes that I could take. And I was basically through the classes and licensed within 5 weeks. And then a year later, we had 150 agents and had built a 6-figure residual income. So that's how fast it could happen for you. But you have to go through and take the tests, and you have to go through and do this because there's, a little barrier of entry for you to show that you're deserving to have this opportunity, that you're willing to go take a little bit of effort to go get it, which it was only like 90 hours of classes. I did it really quick. But that's how fast I want you guys to understand how life-changing opportunity could have slipped away from me and could slip away from you right now. Because what if I had never gone to that next event? I may not have come to the company, or I may have come later with not the right partners and not the same chain of events. Or what if I had just went to that event and it's like, I still need to do this. And I came back, I didn't pull the trigger. But once I saw everything happening and you said that event plus his income had gone up from like 105,000 to 115,000 in like a month. And I'm like, okay, right. So, but that's a true story, kind of how it happened. I met him at that one event. Was on fire to come back home, get licensed, and then kind of got caught up with everything. And then a few weeks later, I had that other event. And when I got back, I just all in, knew it was the opportunity, and went in with the mentality that I'm going to do this no matter what. I'm going to make it work no matter what until it does. It's kind of what happened.
That's amazing.
Very grateful that it did.
Oh, yes, extremely, for sure. And the other 2,200 agents that's a part of your organization are appreciative as well. And that includes me and Carla. I can tell you, once I reconnected back with you, and Carla at this time had started being more productive, and we got back on the same. And this is different for those of you that may have spouses that you're in business with. This is a totally different podcast I could probably talk about. But once we got on the same page, we took off, and she really did. And seeing how well she started doing and how excited and happy she was with working with EXP and all the tools and resources, it just made it all the more real. And it took me a little over 3 months to get my license, but I went ahead and knocked it out. So let's talk about this. And I appreciate you sharing all that. This is great stuff. Can you talk a little bit about the state of the market now and why it's so important to be a realtor and be set yourself up in a good position? Did you enjoy part 1 of the interview? If so, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel here in my podcast. And if you're ready for part 2, check it out here.